Right, so just to explain how to find images that and reasons why I do it this way. If you go to your search engine, be it Google or whatever it may be, whether like mine's Safari, put in stock images, you'll see a number of websites come up. And these are basically photographs you can draw without being sued. So if you were to draw something that someone's got full copyrights to and were to sell that on, you don't know further down the line you could get done for using that. So if you put in stock images and then afterwards choose what you want, I'm gonna put in a wolf. Yeah, that's right. You can go down to the different like shutstock.com, or there's a number of other ones like Dreams Time, and there you can get free images of them, but they might have the things going over the images, which you'll probably see on a number of images now as we look through them like that. But we can deal with that. When you're looking for an image, you don't want one that's too much of one colour. And what I mean by that is too, like this one here is just, there's too much shade of one grey in it. Whereas if you look at one like that, you can see light coming in from this direction, but it's dark over here, which will make your drawing look a lot better. For me personally, I want to put black background on this one, whichever one I use. So which one do we pick? That's a nice photo there, that one. Might come back to that one. There we go, that's that one. So what we'll do is we'll save that. You can either save it to your device or draw it free from there. We're going to be using new art gear today. Couldn't get me words out then. So I'll turn that round that way. I've been having trouble finding the paper I used to use. The W.H. Smith one was perfect, but getting hold of it now is difficult, so I'm trying a number of new pads. I've also bought one of Derwent's 0.7mm technical pencils. I'll be using this with a normal HB Staedtler pencil. I can't draw without them. At least one of them. So I'll just grab one. And another thing we've got, this pencil eraser. It's square, so I'm hoping as you draw, I don't know if you can see that. Like these parts here that are right on the edge, the white bits, you just use that to take some of the fur out, and I'm hoping it will help it stand out more if it's a good eraser, but we'll try it out anyway. I'll tell you by the end of the video. I think I'm going to leave this open on this one, just so you can see how I'd normally do it. So basically what I do, I bought this as well, which is one of the Well, you can see what it is. I thought that it would be alright for me putting the lines in on measuring the perspective of it. Couldn't get my words out then. The reason for me putting those images in, lines in, sorry, is because this part of the photo and this bit here is a basic up that will follow with that. So I'll apologise now if it sounds like my breathing is stuttered or deep or whatever, but I've got asthma, so it does affect the way I sound. Once again, from the last one, it's basically following the basic shapes. You don't have to get it perfect. We can change that as we go along. I started off as a child drawing animals and came away from it and went on to humans. But I think one of my first drawings was done as a camel when I was 8 years old, and I've still got that somewhere. You want, as I hate saying that, I shouldn't have said that. I want to find an image where the size is pretty good, because if you choose one that is, let's say, about 600 millimeters by 600, I think it's millimeters, then you don't get much detail in it. If you choose one that's about 2000, you're gonna get a lot of detail in it. That matters because when you zoom in, it's not letting me do it now. It doesn't show all the details you want to see. Which, if you draw out of a wildlife magazine, you're not going to be able to do that anyway. So, but with modern day technology, we do get spoilt a little bit with being able to do that. No, that's wrong, isn't it? What I'm going to do, I think, is get that bit up there done. So I've got something to follow with the rest of the picture. My reason for using the HB pencil is because these razors are perfect, and I've never used the other pencil before. I can take these out quite easy, tidy it up. I haven't told you how to turn the image from colour to black and white, have I? So if I come off that, go on to the photos, find that one. I've got lots of animal ones. Right, press edit. It's usually, where is it? One of these colour ones. It might be the highlights, brightness, shadows. I think it might, saturation. There we go. Saturation, you can turn it straight from colour to black and white, and for pencil drawing, a grayscale drawing, it is a lot better than a coloured picture. Years ago it wouldn't really have mattered, but we're spoiled with modern day technology. I've basically got a shape there I can follow, so I may come off this pencil, try and use this to get some lines in. I'm not sure it's going to work. That's the thing, you see these new things and you think, oh, I could use that for that, and then you buy it and it turns out completely rubbish, completely pointless, a waste of money. But at least you know then, if you can afford to do it. If it's not too expensive, I don't mind paying out. And no, I don't like that. I've got a little ruler, a metal ruler I usually use. I thought that would be better because I thought it was going to be smaller. So we're going to try and get more detail in this now. It's nearly black up there, that nose. This part of the nose anyway. And I want to try out the pencil erasers on the end of that to see if they're any use. Usually they're not, if I'm honest. I use a lot of technical pencils that the erasers just don't cut it. We'll see. But they usually leave smudges, and before you know it, you're at the end of a razor. Army brush. Shaver's brush or a pastry brush. Perfect for getting these bits off, and then you don't smudge your artwork. Pastry brush is probably the cheapest, and it's better because it's longer. See, I'm not as comfortable putting all these lines in with this one. I know I've got to try it, but it could absolutely ruin the picture because you see where these white bits are, all the light areas. If you go over that with a line and it doesn't rub off, the picture's going to be ruined. But in a while I'll tell you a way you can get around that. Another thing I want to talk about today is whether you think it's right to take an image and get the outline of it, put it on another piece of paper and draw from it. I'm interested to know what other artists think on that matter, because I dare say some would think it would only be the right thing to do the full drawing from here. But I mean, that isn't how I've done portrait pictures before. I've basically done it so I can put lines here, there and everywhere, get the correct line work done, and then move it to a piece of Bristol board. If you don't know what Bristol board is, it's like thick cartridge paper. It's a hell of a lot more resistant to rubbing bits out, and it's just all round better, but it's a lot more expensive. And obviously, to get an image off your cartridge paper to the Bristol board, you have to just trace around your own image. Not trace a photo, but trace around what you've done. This wolf is actually turning out bigger than I'd planned. Which happens sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as it isn't on the main piece of paper you're drawing on, which I'm not. This isn't going to be the main piece. Get that two things. When drawing things like that where the back area is black, be careful not to judge this too small, because once all this is filled in, that is going to look a lot smaller. The tooth is going to look a lot smaller. See what I do in my head while I'm drawing, I'm putting all those perspective lines I talk about, all these things. I see hundreds of them in my head because I'm looking like from the eye to the ear to maybe this curve here, back up to the nose. Wherever you've got a point like that bit there, you can think of all these different ways you can measure it up, which might explain why I'd bought that tool that I had up here for the line work a while back. I like drawings with the backgrounds almost or completely black, but you can't get to that point with just one pencil. See, I think with this pad and this pencil, they're working alright at the minute. That ear should be further away, I think, shouldn't it? But yeah, they're working alright at the minute, but I couldn't turn this into a full drawing if I wanted to, because of the pencil, it's a really dark lead. You'll see me doing this zooming in to look at bits like this, because on the main drawing that will be shaded and around there. But it won't be as dark as that, there'll be bits coming down. But that area to me still looks like it should be longer than that. Either that or that eye needs to be smaller. That is a mental note I'll take for moving it over. I won't always take out every line because you'll see me put all these lines in, and I'll leave a majority of them in there. But I go over the areas I want darker, so they'll be easier to put on another piece of paper. Curves like that. With the colour you can mess about to get it a more preferred shade, because if you can get like dark areas to stand out more and the white areas to stand out, it will give you a better drawing once you're finished. I'll put these lines in as I'm going along to make myself aware with the next drawing that this line is not going to be dead straight, unlike that one, which I'll be able to just go over like that. I won't go over that like that. I would have expected those dots to be there. I mean, they are there, but keep headbutting the camera. Forgetting it's there. A long time ago, I didn't even know about technical pencils. I knew they existed, but I barely use them at all. But because there's not such thick lead in them, they don't get too blunt when you use them, which may be why some people like me prefer them. I don't like that just black, because I feel like, I know it is on there, but I feel like there should be more detail in it. I've always been one of these who likes detail. I don't know why I'm doing that, because that's just messing that up. You'll find me doing this while I'm doing artwork. I'll just be calling myself an idiot in not those words. You have to control your language when you're doing things like this. That joins there, doesn't it? See, I would have liked that to have been a lot bigger, because when you zoom in, you can't always make it like this bit here. Can't always make out whether that's going that way, that way, that way, that way. If you're wondering what I'm doing, at that particular stage, I didn't know either. I was trying to work that out myself. Reasoning behind putting these in is to make it so that it doesn't look too flat. They're not necessarily going to be in the next drawing, but it gives me, I suppose, guidelines for myself is the best way to put it. Right, now we want to put some lines in to explain this first. It's not relevant for the person viewing your artwork afterwards, but while you're doing it, it's good to give yourself the guidelines. I think everybody uses them, whether they're in their head or drawn down on paper. Sometimes you draw like I've drawn those lines there, purely by accident, because if you look close enough, part of the wolf is there. It's faded into the background. So I'll go over that basic shape, which is kind of like that. Yep. I'm never completely satisfied with my drawings, never. And I don't want to change that either, because I feel it will help me to keep on improving. Another thing I want to mention that I have seen other art teachers say, which I completely disagree with, is, and don't take this wrong for the first time I say it, but they say drawing isn't a talent. I think it all depends on the individual. Sometimes a child has been able to pick up a pencil and draw better than an adult can. I think there is a certain element of talent involved in it, whether sometimes maybe you just fall into it or you learn it along the way. I don't think there's anything to be ashamed with someone saying I've got talent in drawing. I was able to do it as a child. I do agree with the teachers when they say anyone can learn. Only this week I saw a man on a Facebook group who became paralysed and he couldn't move from his neck down, and he taught himself to draw using the pencil and in his mouth. Which hurts your teeth because I've tried that. I've tried with my mouth and my feet, and it does hurt because it's using muscles that you're just not used to using. So it takes a lot of patience. But I mentioned what I did about the talent thing because I think it's unfair when some kids have just been able to pick up a pen and a piece of paper and draw something so well anyone observing it afterwards thinks it's come from a adult. There's nothing wrong with being talented. There's nothing wrong with not being talented in artwork, and I do agree that you can learn to draw, and I'm hoping this will help some people learn. Some of you learn. Especially with these lines, because you see them in everything, even if it's something, I don't know if you can, yes, something circular like that can be drawn with lines. And it's not something I see a lot. With teachers, I see them talking about perspective artwork like this. So if you put that there and that there, and you've probably seen a few yourself where it comes out like this, and you can build up from these bits with similar lines, something like that. You may have seen them, you may not, but those are perspective lines. But that's more like drawing a road. So you don't have the road there. These would be buildings on either side. But what I've done is I've basically taken that kind of teaching and twisted it into something to suit myself and my own artwork. And that's something you can do as well. Whatever you find, if you come up with an idea that you think might work, don't be afraid to give it a go, because you might find a new way of drawing that nobody else has done before, and if it works for you, then brilliant. And I'd like to hear about it, definitely. looks alright, doesn't it? Just got to remember with these bits, the main, and the reason I put in bits like this is so when you're copying this onto another piece of paper, let's say you've done this outline all the way around and put that on there, you can then see this by the side of it, and it helps you give a little bit perspective into that as a 3D animal rather than that as a flat image, and it will help you remember that as you go along. See, I can see this line now. That's what I'm putting in. See, this might look a mess to you or to anyone else watching. To me, I understand it because, like, this bit here fits there and there as that small bit of black in its coat there, which gives you another point in the photo, in the photo to work from to work out your other lines. This is where animals, for me, would be easier to draw because of all the fur they've got. That's alright. It's just I haven't done what I usually do, and what I'd normally use is a piece of printer paper, fold it in half. Let's see if I can find a bit. Bit of printer paper, fold it in half. Now it gives you something to put your hand on so you don't smudge everywhere. But just bear in mind that can smudge it in itself, which is why I use that mousse stick on the main picture. You'll see me use it because I'm going to use a light box to put this into one of those bigger art pads. And I like a lot of these bits like this because this can be shaded in with a different pencil. Let's say 4B to 8B pencil, and I can show you what I'm talking about because it sounds a bit stupid at the minute. If you take your pencil eraser with that bit, you can actually put the edges in. You're drawing it with the eraser rather than drawing it with the pencil. And that's why I like these images with the black bits on, because filling that in and then getting the proper detail, not necessarily in that order, but yeah, I do like them. I've got one of a barn owl, I think, to do as well. But Mum was talking to me this week about drawing wolves, and it just got my mind working, and I thought I'd incorporate it a little bit. You see that line there? In the next drawing, that one, it will be there, but it won't be there in pencil. I'll have gone over it with a darker lead pencil, a blunter one that I can rub out, and I'll just use the rubber to take that out. It'll stand out a lot better. It's like I say to you, this might look a mess. I get that, it is a mess. But I understand these lines, it's just how my brain works. Sometimes in photographs, I used to draw a lot of pictures of Elvis Presley, and you want that to be specifically correct. But unlike Elvis, this one doesn't necessarily need to be like that. It can be changed in such a manner it doesn't look exactly like that, but it works better as a pencil drawing. But yeah, I definitely like your feedback on tracing images and moving them over and how you perceive it. Because I think, to be honest, if you're tracing like that, but say that was a piece of tracing paper and going over it, that for me as an artist would be cheating for me. It wouldn't necessarily be for you, but it would also, although it can be perceived as cheating, you'd actually be learning where all these lines sit. So if you take a picture like this and put it on a light box and trace it, you'll learn where certain bits of the animal or whatever you may be drawing sit, and you can bear that in mind for future artwork. So there is lessons to be learned from cheating, if you want to call it that. I don't think that's as far down like that, is it? It's more... got that bit there. I like this pencil. It's hard for me to find one of this size that I like. I bought a pencil a while back that I started drawing with it, and it's very similar to this, so I'm glad I found this one. It comes out a lot darker when you draw, so when you're sketching like this, it looks better, I think. Just an opinion. You just got to remember that if you're starting out as an artist, you're gonna hear a lot of people who have had experience in artwork say this is the way to do it, that's the way to do it, and that's all right. If you want to collect all those lessons, if you want, in your own mind, try them out. Try all the different ways out. Try ways you might think yourself, and see what works for you as an artist. Don't necessarily think this is the way it must be done, because you want to be drawing for you. You don't want to be drawing for the teacher. See, this would look a right mess to most people, but it works for me. There's a line down there as well, which, no, you don't see that much, but I know it's there because it's the 3D part of that where it goes underneath. That'll contribute well to shifting it over. You have to consider as well whether you want to put your picture in a frame, or whether you just want it left in a sketch pad like this. Because if you're going to put it in a frame, I would recommend one with the, I'm going to draw it because I can't remember the name of it. Border. Yeah, that's what it's called. On the inside, that bit, and then you have the frame on the outside. My reasoning behind this, I did this with all my Elvis drawings, is you can take that bit out of the frame, get exactly the right space on the piece of paper, or go over that to make sure it fits, and that exact bit for the frame. Because otherwise, if you put this just into a one glass piece frame, it's going to smudge your drawing all over the place. I don't think there are many more lines to put in this for the next drawing, to be honest. Put that bit darker. I'm going to use that rubber because that wasn't totally in the wrong place. And yeah, that will help. Because what I'll be able to do with all these lines is look at them and think, right, why are they pointing? And then work from there. I did a picture of a jaguar once, and I started from over this side and did everything first. And I worked my way over rather than actually getting proportion straight. It worked, but that's not the way I do it now. Because bits like this, I might have already mentioned this, the white bits, if you don't want them to be shown on your next next artwork. So for example, it's white, let's say it's white white fur and you want it to stand out. If you get something like this technical pencil, a blunt knife, or what else have I used? I've used a spatula in the past, the shaping spatulas. Where is there white fur? There's white fur there. So if I was to go over that, I'd be putting in that white fur without you really seeing it to start off with. But as you go over it, as you shade it, I'll use my HB pencil as an example. It makes those lines that you've put in there stand out, which then you can work on afterwards of going around them to make sure they're perfect. That's worked alright, isn't it? So this is going to be full black. And the outside of it is going to be black as well, isn't it? That's bothering me, that bit there. This happens with more or less every drawing. I'll find something that is going to bother me all the way through it. It's a habit I get from my mum. She used to draw and she'd spend hours doing a drawing and then she'd tear it into pieces because it just didn't come out how she wanted it, and I tend to do that with a pencil. I think one of my friends had that experience with me. When I was doing a picture of Elvis, it just didn't work. Everybody makes mistakes. Just remember that you're not gonna draw perfect all the time. It's just like life. It's every drawing. There's a lesson to be learnt. You've just got to open your mind enough to be able to see those lessons and accept that I don't think you ever stop learning. Personally, that is just my opinion. I'm still finding things now that I didn't know before. And I don't think we ever stop learning. You see how that's done that? I'd know what I'd do with the bigger picture is I'd shade around those a lot better. If I wanted them to really stand out, go over them with a pencil, but they are a little bit grey there. And I'm going to try something new I learned from digital artwork. A colourist for who does comics, because I'm a big comic fan, and it's basically blocking in. So the darker areas are blocked in darker. The lighter areas are obviously lighter, and you work from that. See how you can change it. It might not even work, but it's something, if you're willing to spend your time trying it, and rather than having a day where you're concentrating to get everything absolutely perfect, think, well, today I'll try that out, see if it works, and if it doesn't, then lesson learnt. We'll carry on to draw something else. And you see this area here. What you could do is draw it like that and go over it with the eraser, which is a way of putting that detail in that you see there. I want this bigger though, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a photo of it with my iPad Pro. Not everybody can afford them, I know, but I'm going to take a photo of it, make it a little bit bigger to put in one of those pads I think I've shown you. If not, it's one of these. To fit the page a little bit. So, thought that was a mark then. It'll be a nice drawing to try that out, because I've got high hopes for those pads, because they're easily accessible. They're not cheap, but they're not expensive either, so yeah, I think that'll do. That'll do. What I'll do now is like I said, I'll get a photo of it, move it over to my iPad Pro, and on the next session of this piece, I'll show you how it's transformed, and that'll be the next one. So I'll leave it there for now.